Is human life a constant battle against death? Life is the time period between birth and death. Means, in other words, we just live to die. We keep avoiding death so we may be able to live. If we consider how we humans, as a living species, have to take care of ourselves so we can stay alive and not die, whether it's our food intake or health maintenance, vaccine shots, or disease prevention measures, eating right or living right, following safety measures while driving, flying or having fun at amusement park, installing home security or taking care of basic hygiene rules, it all indicates our urgent need to stay alive and to avoid dying, which, in turn, seems to point out that we living creatures are actually, sadly or happily, only constantly battling death. And, we win only as long as we aren't dead. Once we die, well then, the death is the winner. Death is always the final winner. So, are we living to die? Let's explore this question in more detail. Death is a time bomb. Simply put, our life is quite like being strapped to an inescapable time bomb that starts ticking to its programmed explosion the moment we are born. We start inching towards death from the first breath of our life. Just like every river's downward journey begins the moment it is born out of a drop of water and ends in meeting the sea, that's how it is with us as well. We will all agree it is a terrible, terrible way to think, and probably nobody should think like this at all. However, we cannot deny that this is the truth. We are all just time bombed. Love of life or fear of death. Staying alive or living is not the same. Resisting to die, refusing to die, or escaping death are not the same. However, if we look at their inner core, they all mean just one thing: survival. Now, whether we call it the desire to live, or the desire to survive, or not desiring to die, it all means just the same. A poor homeless begging for food and shelter, a rich person employing bodyguards, a baby crying for milk, a thief breaking into somebody's house to steal, a criminal kidnapping someone for ransom, a sick receiving treatment for disease, all these are completely separate, completely unrelated, and completely different activities, but interestingly they all trace their root cause to the person's desire to live and the desire to avoid dying. We want to live. We never want to die. In fact, the chief reason why we are scared of death is because it means we cannot live anymore. Self-preservation is our first instinct. We all are born with a pronounced instinct for self-preservation. We save ourselves. Always. At all costs. We rarely give up. Self-preservation drives even frail, feeble little animals, birds, even insects to attack viciously when they sense themselves under threat. Even fetuses try to save themselves to a mind-blowing degree. According to medical science, if a fetus fails to get the nutrients from its mother, it will leach the mother's body for the same, even at the cost of mother's health, which is why expectant mothers are so strictly advised to take care of what they eat. Parental instinct or indirect self-preservation. Since newborns and young babies are physically dependent and incapable of protecting themselves, their parents overtake this function and will do anything from killing someone who presents danger to sacrificing themselves in order to keep their offspring safe. We all know that childbearing is a difficult process, and for some particular animal or bird species it is unbelievably tougher. Yet, the mother will do anything from fighting predators multiple times its own size and strength, or self-destruct itself so its baby can live. Now, we can call it love for their baby, or we can call it indirect self-preservation, whichever we choose. It is another terrible thought, but unfortunately, a fact of life. All living creatures are programmed to save themselves from death, directly or indirectly. Every moment of our awake and asleep state is a continuous fight for survival. You don't believe that? Think again. Falls, cuts, bruises, attacks, accidents, natural calamities, infections, diseases. We live in shadow of dangers that constantly threaten our life. Our survival is an extremely busy and costly business. Imagine the amount of money, energy, time and work that goes into make our shaving blade or winter jacket, kitchen knife or staircase, zebra crossing or air travel to make our life safe for us so we don't die. Can you guess all the direct or indirect things we need to stay alive? Food, house, clothes, home security, medicine, work, insurance. The list might well be endless. From the moment we are born to the moment we die, all our activities are single-mindedly aimed at saving ourselves. Whether from thieves or office rivals, office work or domestic problems, infections, job interviews or joblessness. Since we are humans who believe in love and hope, we like to call our fight for survival, love for life. In other words, we are afraid of death. In other words, we keep cheating death so we may continue to live as long as possible. We like to tell ourselves that we're fighters, that we're survivors, that we're soldiers of life, marching on the boggy, miry chest of death, trampling it beneath our feet as berries and cherries. The truth, however, remains, we're alive for only as long as death allows us to. When death decides to claim us, sometimes we may be able to delay it, but ultimately nothing and nobody can stop it. If we weren't so hardwired to save ourselves, we would vanish from the face of the earth in no time. So would every other living species on earth. All living creatures, even outside human species such as animals, birds, insect or plants, are provided with surprisingly sophisticated inbuilt mechanism for their survival, which includes their defense techniques, nesting style and procreation. No matter what we may say, think or believe, our human body, and that of every other living organism on Earth including microbes, is extremely intelligently designed to protect itself and keep it safe from dying. The question is, why? Imagine the whole of Earth teeming with trillions of living organisms, humans, plants, animals and insects. All designed, created, evolved, whatever, with an intelligent body that's astonishingly capable of protecting itself, and is hell-bent on surviving death at all costs. But, why? What is the purpose of all this? So much of planning, energy and design to keep us alive must have a solid motive. But do we know that motive? Surely, it can't be just to let us die in the end? And, what do we achieve when we do survive? Death. Then what's the point of all this when we all die in the end? So, are we dying to live? Or are we living to die? It may be both, and it may be none. It appears as though the same force or power that helps us to stay alive, mysteriously also tries to kill us at the same time. If this is true, then does it not seem as though there is a constant tussle of power, or a tug of war, or a game of chess between life and death? Are we just chess pieces for life and death? Does our existence just lamely depend on who wins or loses, and when? The bigger question is, between life and death, who really wins, and who really loses? Because even if life wins, it ultimately loses out to death in the end. And interestingly, even if death wins in the end, the living species continue to live even after death, through their progenies. Which means neither death nor life ever lose completely, and neither death nor life ever win completely, which is fairly equal distribution of rights and power between them. This leaves us with only one possible explanation to this question. Life and death are a cycle. And like all other cycles in nature, this cycle too has no beginning, and no end. Like a circle, the end becomes the beginning, and the beginning becomes the end. It never stops. It never breaks. It goes on and on and on forever. So, we really do live to die. And we really do die to live. Interesting, isn't it? But that's just my opinion. Thanks for watching.